Section 8. The Age of Agasha. After the great Thoth passed away, science began to dominate the society because succeeding leaders were not as multifaceted as Thoth. A trend of overvaluing science developed, prompting an opposing position that advancements in science do not always produce results that accord with God's will, and that perhaps God would want people to care about more than just science. Various religious reform movements sprang up, and Atlantis saw many people preaching and debating different ideas about how we humans should live in this world. This period, which lasted for about 1,000 years, came to be known as the Age of 100 Schools of Thought. Atlantis began to slowly sink around this time, approximately 11,000 years ago. First, the eastern third of the continent disappeared into the sea. 300 years later, the western third also slipped beneath the waves. Eventually, only the central third of the continent remained above sea level, but the empire continued to thrive. About 10,400 years ago, 8,400 BCE, a man named Agasha was born in Pontus, the continent's capital city. At that time, Pontus had a population of about 700,000 and had been ruled by the Amanda clan for many generations. Born into the royal Amanda clan with the given name Amon at the age of 24, the young prince was crowned king and changed his name to Agasha, which means he who houses wisdom. He was in fact an earlier incarnation of Jesus Christ. Like La Mu, King Agasha was both a great religious leader and a skilled political leader. In his palace, he too had a 30-meter high, 100-foot high golden temple shaped like a pyramid, where the young king fulfilled his religious duties. A unique aspect of his reign was that once a month, he would gather more than 100,000 people in a large square in the city and preach to them using a device much like today's wireless microphones. Agasha's teachings were based on love, much like those he later preached as Jesus. Although his topics varied, he always conveyed the same basic messages. 1. The true nature of God is love, and love in our hearts and minds is proof that human beings are children of God. 2. To practice love, first love God our Lord, then love your neighbors who are part of God, and finally love yourself, God's servant. 3. At least once a day, pray quietly on your own and communicate with your guardian spirit and guiding spirits. 4. Your greatness is measured by the quality, not quantity, of the love that you give, so improve the quality of your love. Agasha's teachings were admirable, and he was deeply revered by his people. However, a group of people who were still devoted to the deist teachings of Saint Cusanus, Maitreya, regarded Agasha as an enemy and plotted to kill him. For whereas Saint Cusanus had placed great emphasis on science, logic, and a rational God, Agasha preached love and spoke of guardian spirits and guiding spirits, which were the antithesis of scientific knowledge. Those who were still devoted to Saint Cusanus's teachings wanted to preserve the traditional values of Atlantis and mistook Agasha's teachings for beliefs that could lead people astray. There is no doubt that Agasha was a man of noble character who garnered the respect of everyone. However, a belief in the ultimate power of science was deeply entrenched in most citizens of Atlantis, so they couldn't accept Agasha's teachings about the existence of invisible guardian spirits and guiding spirits. Eventually, the deists instigated a revolt, captured Agasha and the royal family, and buried them alive in the city square. This action mirrors what we've seen at the end of the 20th century. The truths were revealed to the people, which triggered various forms of evil to rise in defiance. During this violent massacre on Atlantis, only one member of the royal family, Ammon II, Agasha's first son, was able to escape in an airship and flee to Egypt. There he taught people to worship the sun and is remembered to this day as Amun-Ra. The Egyptian pyramids we see today were the results of knowledge brought by Ammon II. Many angels of light born on earth were executed during the deist rebellion, and for a time it seemed that devils had triumphed in Atlantis. Their victory, however, would be short-lived. The dark clouds of evil thought energy that had spread throughout the land caused the Earth's consciousness to react violently, sinking the continent into the ocean in just a single day. Like other great ancient civilizations, Atlantis came to an abrupt and tragic end. But once again, some inhabitants escaped, this time in airships, and traveled to Africa, Spain, and the Andes Mountains of South America, where they planted new seeds of civilization.